the DJI Mini 3 Pro, one of the best drones ever built and one of the most significant drones, especially as we get closer to remote ID. Like, this could be one of the last drones that DJI makes that's under 250 grams before remote ID is required by all drone pilots next September of 2023. Now, you're watching this video for one of two reasons. You either have no idea what remote ID is and you want to learn about it and how it's going to affect you as a drone enthusiast, or you know about remote ID and you've always known that it's coming and you want to know if you should hate it as much as you did when you first heard about it. So let's take a few minutes and talk about remote ID today. Welcome back to the channel, everyone. And if you're new here, thank you for stopping by. My name is Russ. So it's been a minute since I've talked about remote ID, and I thought with an important date coming here real soon, it would be a good time to revisit the topic and get you all riled up. The comment section on these drone rules videos is always entertaining to read. So first and foremost, let's define remote ID in two different ways. First of all, the honest and abridged version. So a group of greedy corporations want to make more money by delivering products with drones, but there are too damn many pesky hobbyists flying around getting in the way, so they developed remote ID to make most of them quit the hobby, and the ones that stay have to be either put on a leash or in a cage or be tracked at all times. Now, to put it in more professional terms, remote ID was developed by the Federal Aviation Administration after careful consideration of over 50,000 comments and advisement from a group of carefully selected committee members to ensure that all unmanned aircraft are accounted for and traceable to mitigate potential disasters and to ensure a smooth flow of air traffic over the United States. It is touted as the most important step to ensure a safe integration of drones into the national airspace system. Now, whenever you read about it, you're sure to see the words like a license plate for your drone, which I absolutely despise. It is nothing like a license plate because I can't go to the shopping mall and see a car in the parking lot, look up that license plate on my phone, and then see that the driver of that car is in the foot fungus aisle of Target. I like to think of remote ID as more like a publicly accessible Apple AirTag that allows anyone who is near you the ability to know your precise location at all times. All right, just for a little bit, I'm gonna quit being cynical, and I will say that remote ID is a necessary evil for the advancement of the commercial drone industry. There is a lot of traffic in our skies, and there's gonna be more, and I think it's important to have a way to manage that. That's just common sense. You can't have progress without structure. Now, if you've watched any of my previous videos that discuss remote ID, you know what my biggest problem with it is, and everyone I think can agree, and it's the fact that it allows everyday Joe bystanders to see exactly where you are when you are flying your drone. I just don't understand why they think that is a good idea. But there is one ray of hope when it comes to that. Well, up until just a couple of days ago, there was actually more rays of hope, and that was a lawsuit that was filed against the FAA by Race Day Quads that attempted to show the breaching of pilot privacy that exists in remote ID. However, the court ruled that drone pilots have no reasonable expectation of privacy, so Race Day Quads lost that lawsuit. So remote ID is still coming as it was decided in the final ruling. Now, here are the things that remote ID will broadcast from your drone when you are flying. And keep in mind, you as a drone pilot do not have to comply with these until September of 2023. In about a month here, September of 2022, manufacturers have to start complying when they build these drones. They have to start putting in standard remote ID, but you as a drone pilot don't have to start doing it until next year. So here's what will be transmitted with built-in standard remote ID. This is a drone that has the technology built into it by the manufacturer. It will send out your drone ID number, which is only traceable by law enforcement or the FAA, a session ID number, drone location and altitude, drone velocity, and control station location and elevation, that's you, time mark, and emergency status, like if it's an auto return to home or any other malfunction that may be occurring with the drone. Now, here is what will be broadcast with the second option, and that's by using a remote ID broadcast module. This will be a device that you attach to your non-standard remote ID drone, and it will transmit all the same things as a drone with built-in remote ID, except for any emergency status And instead of constant tracking of the control station, it will only broadcast the drone launch point. So with the aftermarket broadcast module option, the everyday Joe will not be able to see exactly where you are unless you stay right at the launch point. That means if you have an older drone that does not have remote ID built into it, I would take really good care of it. And next September, when all drones over 250 grams have to start transmitting, get yourself that broadcast module and mitigate yourself being harassed or robbed or hurt. The constant transmission of control station location for public awareness will 100% lead to altercations, physical harm, and theft. I guarantee it. There is absolutely no valid reason for the general public to have access to pilot location. It is absolutely absurd. And I'm willing to bet if you went out and asked any of the millions of drone pilots in the United States if they think tracking pilot location is a good idea, not a single one would say that it is. Now, I haven't seen any depictions of what these broadcast modules are going to look like, but I would assume it's going to be something similar to like a drone strobe, like the Firehouse Arc 5 I have here, or maybe the Loom Cube strobe or something like that. But I would assume they're going to be about this size. And then I'm not sure how they're going to be able to be attached, maybe a bracket or something like that. But the thing is, these are going to be able to be moved from one drone to the other. So if you have multiple drones, you'll be able to take it off one and put it on another when you want to fly that drone. So I don't think they would make us use hook and loop, but I guess that's possible. The other thing that I'm assuming is that they are going to be rechargeable, maybe like USB-C, just like a strobe, just like this. So this is what I'm thinking. Actually, I haven't seen anything on the internet on what these are going to look like or any assumptions. And maybe manufacturers don't even know what these are going to look like yet. So, but anyway, that's what I think. Let me know what you guys think. Now, I do need to mention the third option that will be available in the fall of 2023. And that's if you want to fly a drone without standard remote ID or without a broadcast module, you have to fly in what is called a Fria. This is basically a designated geographical area that you can fly around in circles to your heart's content. Sounds like fun, right? Now, the other option and the best one, just go get yourself a drone that weighs less than 250 grams, like the Mini 3 Pro or the Mini 2, and there probably will be many more coming out. Unless you're flying it commercially, you do not have to register that drone. And a drone that doesn't require registration is a drone that doesn't require remote ID. I've said it 100 times, the sub 250 gram drone market is going to exponentially grow over the next 18 to 24 months. The people do not want remote ID, and the market will reflect that in the number of small drones that will be sold. I mean, it already has. Look at the popularity of the Mini 3 Pro. Regulation drives innovation, both directly and inversely. In the case of remote ID, the advancement of sub 250 gram drones is basically in spite of the development of remote ID. Now, what I worry about for the future, however, is that government officials do what they do best, and that's change the rules to meet the demands of who does the most lobbying. So we shall see. Comment below, is remote ID the beginning of the end for drone hobbyists? Or is it not as bad as we think? Will you quit flying drones next year because you don't want to be tracked? Let me know your strategy for getting around remote ID when it becomes active. Hit that like button, that thumbs up button if you got anything of value from this video. Subscribe to join the community. Follow me on Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter for bonus content. Have a great day, everyone. And as always, fly safe and fly smart.